So we're going to look at the Neutron Fairy. I got an experience out in my trees that was really interesting scientifically, but I didn't know it at the time. I got it validated later from a physicist. So I was out in my trees. This is actually going to explain how trees, you know, you've heard different people say they get information from trees, right? This is going to show us how trees do that scientifically. So, you know, you've heard of Neutron under the, Newton under the tree, and you've heard of Buddha and the Bodhi tree. Well, the list goes on of the inspirations that have happened while under a tree. Well, when I was under my tree, I got this information that the sun rays come through the trees, pick up the information in the tree, and drop it off to us. And I was getting that our DNA is we're working on modified DNA, and we're going to learn in a little bit how our DNA has been modified. But modified DNA, and that nature's not a modified DNA, and that it can help at this time, now that we're ready to have the experience of having our DNA unmodified, it's able to help us remember how to do that. So I got that. These rays come through the trees, pick up the information of the DNA of the trees, drop it down, like little school for our DNA, and here you go, here you go. So I gave this in one of my talks, and there was a gentleman in the audience just squirming and wiggling and grinning, and afterwards he comes running up and he's like, "Oh, I'm a physicist. I have to explain to you what your tree meant by that." And I'm like, "Oh, this will be fun." So he sits down drawing all this out for me, and he says, in a sun ray, the neutron, remember that neutron we talked about before, is very active, it's very powerful. So as the neutron goes through anything, it can go through lead. It doesn't follow the rules of science. You know, it's like, I love the neutron because it's a bit of a rebel. It can do whatever it wants. It can go through lead. It can pass through anything. It can be one place one minute. It can be mass when it wants. It can be spirit when it wants. It can be here one second, be over there the next. But whatever it passes through, it picks up the information of that. And whatever it touches next, it drops off the information. I'm like, cool, that's how trees are able to give us information. That's really exciting to me, because I like, I like to ask why, but I really love to get the hows on how things work. So I'm like, okay, that's how trees can help teach us. With that neutron there. And we talked about how the neutron, now look at that neutron. Do you see the two funnels on the top and the bottom? All that energy in the middle. So then I got an aha, and I believe in this journey that we're having through all these experiences, that we're having completely different vibrational experiences, and that as things change, those of us here having these experiences are going to come up, especially now with what's ahead, going to come up with all these creative, amazing ideas and inventions on how to adjust our world to being in this new energy, how things can be designed to work as a match for the new energy. So as the trees have been teaching me all this, they've been teaching me tools and some things to do to help people get themselves back into this balance. But I got why I was about 4 years ago shown how to do this certain thing. And I would like to say I am very scientifically intelligent, but I would, not that I know of, maybe some of that, how I say we have the answers within. I don't consciously call myself a scientist. I didn't have a flock of scientists around me, and yet just by listening to these downloads, I was given information on how to make these really wild tools. I didn't question them, other than just felt if it felt like truth for me, and then I would just create all these, probably about 30 different inventions of things to do by studying nature that help us adapt to where we're at now. And all of a sudden, I didn't know why, and it was one of those things where I just did what I was urged to do, and then later I was given the information on why I was to do that. And that's why on this one, on that piece of information with the neutron and the sun rays to the tree, I go, oh, okay. So I have these little bracelets, for example, and I coat them with essential oils and liquid crystal, and there's little balls of clear quartz in there. And the little balls of clear quartz, I later learned, work like the sun. They do this pulling the energy in, compression, whoosh. So that's how a crystal in the sphere works, by the way. And it generates energy, just like the sun. You know how the sun sends the infrared rays? Quartz in a little sphere does the same thing. So all of a sudden I go, aha, that's why I was being so strongly nudged to make this particular design, and it's because not everybody can be out under trees all day. It's just not a luxury that everybody can afford. Some people live in where there's not even trees around them. So when somebody gets a little bracelet, they're all the different themes like allergy and joy and health and all these themes. Let's say they put an allergy bracelet on and they're like, breathing much better, that's great. But what's happening on a bigger level is that the little balls of clear quartz that are in there are pulling the energy in and they're going boof. So they're that infrared rays, just like the sun. They have that active neutron. But what they pass through before they touch the person is all that plant oil energy. So they're picking up the information, the DNA in the nature, and delivering it to the person all day while they're wearing it. And I've been doing it for 3 years. It was so exciting to get the aha, that's why. That's the bigger reason. It's way bigger than just an allergy thing or a pain or whatever the person chose. The bigger scale of it is it's like being in a little DNA school the whole time you're wearing it, of nature going, information, information. Okay, so that's again about how the crystal works. That's the infrared. So anytime that you're working with a crystal sphere, that's how the energy works. Pulls the energy in, expansion, compression, boof, out with the energy. Okay, so again, not all of us can, in our modern lifestyle, get our bare feet out on the earth. Be nice, huh? If you could just drag your desk out there. So our bare feet being on the earth was another big part of that, the whole little what to bring here. And so the bottom of our feet have 50,000 receptors. Right? So we're designed to put these on the earth. That's our plug-in. Like how you plug an appliance into the wall, our feet are our plug-ins. And this is I'm not going to talk much about product in this talk. Just a couple things on here, just because they make sense. So we're designed to, and whether it's going out on your front lawn and getting your feet on the earth, when your feet are plugged into the earth, you're bringing in that earth energy, the chakras balance, which you're going to see in a minute. But I knew our feet were supposed to be on the earth, and I was trying to think of how to do that. I thought, well, let's bring the earth into our shoes. So I designed these earth energy shoe inserts, and those are bringing in the rocks and the flowers and the plants and the trees and the crystals that are in there. By the way, when you hug a crystal, it gives off piezoelectricity energy. So they're constantly being hugged in the material they're in, but as you're walking on them, every time you make a step, you are applying pressure. And when you apply pressure to a crystal, it gives off energy, whoosh, it feeds all that. So as people are walking on it, they're constantly feeding that energy to their body. But the bigger picture is just getting your feet connected to the earth, whether it's just getting out in nature more, or if you feel drawn, if you need to bring something into your modern lifestyle, that's what that was created for. But if you notice, and again, this would be the same if you went out on your front lawn. Look at the chakras on the before, and look at the chakras on the after. They're totally balanced. The before they were unbalanced, and the after they were balanced. The aura white, what is that? When you have all your chakras in balance, you get the white. Okay, being connected in the heaven and earth energies, that's bringing the polarities in. So the ancient cultures say when these balance up, your crown chakra, the sacred lotus, blossoms, and now you've got that same design we were talking about, that funnel of bringing in the heaven and the earth energies, which is part of what helps empower that in between, which is us.